So good day everybody. We're back from our short holiday and we thank the Lord for being alive and well. Today we're going off topic and I'm going to tell you about Christmas. According to the Britannica online, Christmas is a Christian festival celebrating the birth of Jesus. The English term Christmas, Mass of Christ's Day, is of fairly recent origin. The earlier term Yule may have derived from the Germanic Yule or the Anglo-Saxon Giel, which referred to the feast of winter solstice. Now, there's some lies in this, and it is that it is not a festival of true Christians. It is also not Mass on Christ's Day. It is derived from two words, Christ and Mass. In other words, Christ's Mass. Right. Let's talk about Yule. The winter solstice is celebrated by many people around the world as the beginning of the return of the sun and darkness turning into light. The Talmud recognizes the winter solstice as Tekufat Tevet. In China, the Dongzhistival is celebrated on the winter solstice by families getting together and eating special festive food. Sound familiar? In pre-Christian Scandinavia, the feast Yule lasted for 12 days, celebrating the rebirth of the sun and giving rise to the custom of burning a Yule log. Again, 12 days of Christmas, guys. In ancient Rome, the winter solstice was celebrated at the feast of Saturnalia to honor Saturn, the god of agriculture bounty. Lasting about a week, Saturnalia was characterized by feasting, debauchery, and gift-giving. During Saturnalia, work and businesses came to a halt. Instead of working, Romans spent Saturnalia gambling, singing, playing music, feasting, socializing, dancing and singing naked through the streets, and giving each other gifts. Wax taper candles, called cirae, was common gifts during Saturnalia, to signify light returning after the solstice. People decorated their homes with wreaths and other greenery, and shed their traditional togas in favor of colorful clothes known as synthesis. Even slaves did not have to work during Saturnalia, but were allowed to participate in the festivities in some cases. They sat at the head of the table while their masters served them. On the last day of Saturnalia, celebrations known as the Sigillaria, many Romans gave their friends and loved ones small terracotta figurines known as signallaria, which may have referred back to older celebrations involving human sacrifice. Saturnalia was by far the jolliest Roman holiday. The Roman poet Catullus famously described it as the best of times. So raucous were the festivities that the Roman author Pliny reportedly built a soundproof room so that he could work during the raucous celebrations. The origin of this festivity is presumed to be Mithraic and about 4,000 years old. Mithra was the god of light in ancient Iran or Persia, who assimilated it, of course, from Babylon and Nimrod. The symbol of Mithra is the sun. Iranians use this symbol in their flag for at least the last 2,500 years. The period of the 17th to 24th of December was the duration of this feast. The 21st of December, which is the solstice of winter, is still celebrated in Iran. It is called Yalda, and it represents the victory of light over darkness, which symbolizes the triumph of good over evil. Interesting how the pomegranate symbol looks very much like the balls we hang on our Christmas trees. Mithraism was brought to Europe by Greek soldiers after the defeat of the Persians by Alexander, and by the 4th century AD it was the predominant religion of Europe and the main rival to Christianity. The worship of Mithra spread throughout Asia to Europe, where he was called Deus Sol Invictus Mithras. Romans adopted this festivity to celebrate the god, Saturn, and the rebirth of the sun god during the winter solstice. We also get the name Saturday from this Roman sun god. The winter holiday became known as Saturnalia and began the week prior to December 25th. The festival was characterized by gift-giving, feasting, singing, and the priests of Saturn, called Dendrophori, carried wreaths of evergreen boughs in procession. Prior to the dominance of Christianity, the Romans celebrated this festivity during the 25th of December to the 6th of January. Mithraism gained favor by the Emperor Commodus and Julian, and in 307 AD, Diocletian built a temple on the Danube River dedicated to Mithra. Mithraism spread throughout Europe, from Rome to the province of Numidia in North Africa up to England and Scotland. But after the conversion of Emperor Constantine in 313 AD, Christianity was spread throughout the empire, and Mithraism, as Saint Jerome reports, was forcefully subdued, especially in Rome and in Alexandria. In the 4th century, Pope Leo destroyed the Temple of Mithra, 376 AD. The Temple of Mithra was destroyed. Despite the Mithraic festivity of the birth of the sun continued, as it was a convenient time to be merry in the middle of the winter. Even today, many celebrate the Christmas although they are not Christians, many still celebrate it. It was not till the year 530 AD that the Church commissioned the monk Dionysius Exiguus to proclaim this popular festivity as the birth of Christ. Constantine converted to Christianity, but he kept celebrating this pagan festivity and transformed it into the Christian holiday of Christmas. The use of the evergreen tree in Christmas festivities comes from Germany, where it was used in the worship and celebration of the Yule god, as well as in observance of the resurrected sun god. The evergreen represented life and also was regarded as a phallic symbol in fertility worship. It was believed that the red holly was a symbol of the menstrual blood of the Queen of Heaven, Diana. The evergreen represented life and also was regarded as a phallic symbol in fertility worship. The white berries of mistletoe was considered to be the droplets of the semen of the sun god. Branches of holly and mistletoe were hung in doorways of temples and homes, and it was believed that kissing beneath them will make the spirits of the god and goddess to enter one's body and make them fertile. Shame. Christmas, Christ's Mass. Mass, the service of the Romish Church, the office or prayers used at the celebration of the Eucharist, the consecration of the bread and wine. These are idolatrous and blasphemous rituals in the eyes of our Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself once for all, forever. By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. Hebrews 10 verse 10. And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. Verse 11. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God. Verse 12. From henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified. Verse 13 and 14. And he said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men. But God knoweth your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed amongst men is abomination in the sight of God. Luke 16 verse 15. As a Christian, if you celebrate this pagan holiday, what can you gain from it? More importantly, does it please God? Will God give you a wink and a nod like Santa Claus when we claim that we use the heathen ways to worship Him? No. Unlike Santa Claus, He is holy. Ye cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. 1 Corinthians 10 verse 21. Many Christians believe they can worship God any way they please, as long as they worship Him. This is a big and serious mistake, and I think it is because they do not read the Bible anymore. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Exodus 34:14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? 2 Corinthians 6 verse 14. Let's talk about the Christmas tree for a bit. Many ancient people believed that the sun was a god and that winter came every year because the sun god had become sick and weak. They celebrated the solstice because it meant that at last the sun god would begin to get well. Evergreen boughs reminded them of all the green plants that would grow again when the sun god was strong and summer would return. The ancient Egyptians worshipped a god called Ra, who had a head of a hawk and wore the sun as a blazing disk in his crown. At the solstice, when Ra began to recover from his illness, the Egyptians filled their homes with green palm rushes, which symbolized for them the triumph of life over death. Early Romans marked the solstice with the feast of Saturnalia, as said earlier, in honor of Saturn, the god of agriculture. The Romans knew that the solstice meant that soon farms and orchards would be green and fruitful. To mark the occasion, they decorated their homes and temples with evergreen boughs. In Northern Europe, the mysterious Druids, the priests of the ancient Celts, also decorated their temples with evergreen boughs as a symbol of everlasting life. The fierce Vikings in Scandinavia thought that evergreens were the special plant of the sun god Balder. Most 19th century Americans found Christmas trees an oddity. The first record of one being on display was in the 1830s by the German settlers of Pennsylvania, although trees had been a tradition in many German homes much earlier. The Pennsylvania German settlements had community trees as early as 1747. But as late as the 1840s, Christmas trees were seen as pagan symbols and not accepted by most Americans. To the New England Puritans, Christmas was sacred. The Pilgrims' second governor, William Bradford, wrote that he tried hard to stamp out pagan mockery of the observance, penalizing any frivolity. The influential Oliver Cromwell preached against the heathen traditions, as he called it, of Christmas carols, decorated trees, and any joyful expression that desecrated that sacred event. In 1659, the General Court of Massachusetts enacted a law making any observance of December 25, other than the church service, a penal offense. People were fined for hanging decorations. So the people started to take the evergreen inside their homes and still do it to this day. The stern solemnity continued until the 19th century, when the influx of German and Irish immigrants undermined the Puritan legacy. In 1846, the popular royals, Queen Victoria and her German Prince Albert, were sketched in the Illustrated London News standing with their children around a Christmas tree. No doubt the influence from Germany and Prince Albert. Unlike the previous royal family, Victoria was very popular with her subjects, and what was done at court immediately became fashionable, not only in Britain, but with fashion-conscious East Coast American society. The Christmas tree had arrived. By the 1890s, Christmas ornaments were arriving from Germany, and Christmas tree popularity was on the rise around the US. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. That's in Deuteronomy 16:21. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Jeremiah 10:2. For the customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman, with the axe. Jeremiah 10:3. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. Jeremiah 10:4. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. Jeremiah 10:5. And what about Santa Claus? Santa Claus is primarily linked to Saint Nicholas, the Greek bishop of Myra, a Roman town in Turkey. Saint Nicholas lived during the 3rd and 4th centuries. He defended Christianity while followers were being persecuted. He was imprisoned for many years until Constantine came to power and made Christianity the dominant religion in the Roman Empire. After his death, Saint Nicholas became the patron saint of many groups, including sailors and entire nations, as National Geographic noted. However, 2 tales of his life led him to become the patron saint of children and a magical gift giver. One involves Bishop Nicholas giving 3 bags of gold to a father to save his daughters from prostitution. The other involves 3 boys who were murdered, dismembered, and pickled by their killer, an innkeeper. Nicholas prayed to God and resurrected the 3 boys, according to the story recounted by BeliefNet. Between the 1200s and 1500s, gift-giving celebration took place on St. Nicholas Day, December 6. After the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic saint lost prominence, but the tradition continued. This time, the gift-giving was attributed to baby Jesus. Since the infant could carry only so many presents, he was given a helper who encouraged good behavior from children, Saint Nicholas, and threatened them with kidnapping or whippings otherwise. These psychics were based on Saint Nicholas and are known by Germanic names, including Ruklaus, that's rough Nicholas, Aschenklas, ashy Nicholas, and Pelsnickel, that's fiery Nicholas. We will also talk about Krampus, as in this picture, a little later. Saint Nicholas is also commonly linked to Odin, the ruler of Asgard, one of the major gods in Germanic mythology, who was depicted as a white-bearded man with magical powers. However, Odin's ties to Santa Claus may be more pronounced than those to Saint Nicholas. The winter solstice, also known as Yule, was a time when Odin led a hunting party known as the Wild Hunt in the sky with an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir. The 13th century poetic Edda said the mythical horse could leap great distances, a trait reindeer possesses. Children would leave their boots by the chimney filled with carrots and hay to feed Sleipnir. Legend has it that whenever Odin flew by, he would leave gifts by their boots, according to About.com noted. After Christianity took hold, this practice was later adopted in relation to Saint Nicholas. Children would leave their shoes on the windowsill or bedroom door or on the evening of December 5 for the saint to reward them with nuts, fruits and sweets, as CatholicCulture.org pointed out. Frau Holda is the Germanic goddess of winter. In German folk legends, she is depicted as a beautiful blonde who is the protector of children's souls. Like Odin, she would fly through the night and give gifts to children, as BeliefNet noted. In some depictions, Holda is dressed in red and used chimneys to deliver gifts. Some Germanic traditions involve leaving food and milk for Holda, December 24, known as Mother Night. Santa Claus and Krampus are intimately related. Some traditions have the two characters working together in a good cop, bad cop fashion, depending on the behavior of the child. However, the origin of Santa Claus and Krampus started out as two separate myths from different regions of the world. The Krampus is a hideous-looking creature with large horns, a sharp, slithery tongue, and dagger-like claws. He appears part goat and all horror. He rattles his chains to warn children of his approach, where we get the name or the chant Jingle Bells from. His birch sticks and fangs frighten the young into being good. But if the children do not heed his warnings, he finds them and drags them down to the underworld, where they must remain for a year. Krampus gets its name from the Old Germanic word krampen, which translates as claw. His origins came from Norse mythology, in which he is the son of Hel, goddess of the underworld. Krampus forms part of ancient German traditions for the festive season. German Christmas starts earlier than most in early December. German folklore indicates that the 5th of December is the eve of Krampusnacht, or Nikolaustag, that's St. Nicholas Day. On this night, parents told their children to check outside the door to see if their shoes contained some candy or a rod. In several countries in Europe such as Austria, Germany, Hungary and Czech Republic, men dress in Krampus costumes and participate in events dubbed Krampuslauf. These events consist of one or more Krampus chasing scores of people in something like a fun run. Even in America, Krampus fever is spreading much like Santa Claus did all those years back, where themed parties based on the Christmas devil are on the increase. Austrians are also attempting to improve Krampus' public relations by turning out all manner of merchandise from chocolates to figurines. Apparently the anti-Christmas demon has suddenly become something of a Christmas salesman. Sickening, if you ask me. So before we look at Christmas as all good and wholesome, as all the song suggests, perhaps we should just scratch the surface and research a little, as I did here. There are loads of information on Christmas, and all of it is pagan and, to a Christian, downright evil. I can take you all the way back to Babylon. It comes straight out of Babylon, and even as far back as Satan and his first lies to the first humans. So to recap, if you are a born-again Christian, you cannot partake of this festival, no matter how much you would like to. Always keep in mind that Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." Thank you guys, and I'll see you next year for another video on Evolution Next. Goodbye.